So to approach this question, you want to identify all the different properties. So the amplitude is going to be 1 because in front of the sign there is not a vertical stretch or compression. It has a vertical shift up. Nope, just kidding. Down by 1. So that means that the center of the sine graph is now at y is equal to 1 or negative 1 rather than 0. And we know that the highest point, because the amplitude is 1, is going to be 0, and the lowest point is going to be negative 2, because that gives us that distance of the amplitude, which is equal to 1. So from the center to the top, from the center to the bottom. Then if we look at the period, that is 2 pi divided by w. Well, in this case, there's nothing in there that is multiplying or dividing to change the period. So that means it's just 2 pi over 1. So the period has not changed. What has happened, though, is that we have a phase shift. And that phase shift is identified by this plus pi over 4. So remember that anything inside with the x is the opposite. So it's really going to go to the left by pi over 4. So if we draw our graph, the sine function usually starts at 0, 0, but since it's been shifted down, it's now starting at a y value of negative 1. And then there's no reflection, so it's going to go up and down, like this. So what has happened is we have that period, which is pi over 4, our interval, because there's always 4 sections in each period, is going to be 2 pi over 4, which is pi over 2. Now, the graph is actually showing us to go left by pi over 4. So that means that this point right here is negative pi over 4, negative 1. And then our interval is pi over 2. So that means that our next point is going to be at pi over 4, because we're going to add the interval. So pi over 4 and 0. Then we're going to add another interval. So we have a quarter. We're adding a half. So that's going to be 3 pi over 4 and negative 1. Then we're going to add another half. Then we get 5 pi over 4 and negative 2. We add another half, we get 7 pi over 4 and negative 1. We add another half, and we get 9 pi over 4 and 0. Now, the question only wants us to graph from 0 to 2 pi. So from 0, well, that's halfway in between negative pi over 4 and pi over 4. So it's about here. And 2 pi is the same as 8 pi over 4. So it's going to be halfway between 7 pi over 4 and 9 pi over 4. So the graph will be from here to here. All of this. Basically, it'll look like this, the highlighted part. Now, you don't have to graph the whole thing like I did and then just take the piece that we're looking for out, but I find it easiest this way. And the last thing that we can know is that if this is halfway, that this is going to be let's see, this is going to be 0. So we have our x value of 0, but then our y value, so let's find 0 plus pi over 4 minus 1. So that's sine of pi over 4 minus 1. Sine of pi over 4 is root 2 over 2 minus 1. So that's our y value when our x value is 0. Just going to make that a common denominator. So root 2 minus 2 over 2. And then you can see that this is symmetrical. So that means this point will be 2 pi and root 2 minus 2 over 2 as well.